everybody. Welcome to another Coaching and Flourish. I'm your host, John Andrew Williams. We are here with Raj Anderson. Welcome, Raj. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Tuesday in the world. Here we are. And it's been a week. It has been a week. And the tragedy in Buffalo, New York has been heavy on my heart. And thinking about coaching and what we're doing here with the idea of empathetic listening and social, racial justice, all of it. It is. I feel very fiery today. It's interesting. I've gone through sadness, and I feel it, and it just adds. To me, it adds more motivation for the work that we're doing and the projects that we have going. I am feeling like human beings have to do better. And yeah, that's where I'm at. So I want to speak to that first. And yeah, Raj.
Thanks, John. Hi, everyone. Thank you for starting us off in that way, John. I mean, what words of wisdom would you have humanity or people, coaches, holding space? How do you hold space with all of this going on?
I'm not sure. I mean, as a white person, I know that I have privilege, and especially being in a mixed race marriage, I've seen it on both sides more starkly than I would have if I weren't. And there's, for me and for white people, I feel like there is an obligation to gain knowledge, do research, do your work. Do your work. This is squarely a white people problem, and it is something that we as a society have to make steps towards. And like empathetic listening, I feel like the coaching models, things like this, I feel it. I know it in my heart that this is part of a solution. It's part of the answer that we're looking for, and I'm feeling. I vacillate between feeling immense sadness and then feeling intense anger. If I'm being completely transparent. And I know that the work that we're doing matters, and it makes it feel even. It just adds more motivation, and that's what I'm feeling a lot today. And I want to recognize the beauty of life, and also seeing eagles, and all of that, and the work that we have to do.
Thank you, John. And I know you're talking about kind of privilege, and as a white person, how do you invite other white people to become allies to the cause?
It's fascinating. I think that sometimes talking about this, I know, I feel like it goes in two different ways when I'm talking to other people, or even go here. One way is I feel like people, they really do hear, and they understand, and they want to do better. And then other people get extremely fragile and feel like they might not say it, but then they just sort of melt away. They don't do it. They get uncomfortable and they fall away. So I think I feel fortunate that we're doing work that I feel like is part of the solution. And I go back to that, and I invite my friends. I feel like pretty strong community in there. They understand. They hear what I'm saying with it. And in Coach Training EDU, I feel like there's an element of changing, element of cause, changing the world. Like we're up to something in this space, and that just goes through the whole organization. So I think what I've learned, white people, it's enough to listen. That's step one. That's enough of a first step. Just listen and just be with. And then the next step is, okay, now seek out knowledge. Like do the reading, do the Googling. And then the third step is, take action. Do something. Yeah, do something.
And I think we all, yeah. Sorry, John. Yeah.
No, go for it.
As I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, how can we all be in that space where we are more empathetic and compassionate and listen and even continue to hold a mirror up to ourselves. It kind of reminds me of, I was at an event last week and we were looking at women in leadership, but even diversity within that space as well. And for me, it was really important that we got that wide representation. Yet I also hold the mirror up to myself, because sometimes like attracts like, and it can be very easy to be drawn towards people that are like you. But how do I hold myself accountable to have more of those conversations, to listen to different perspectives and people that are different from me? And, you're talking a lot about listening and, I'm not sure if you discussed this last week, but I was curious about how do we continue to grow that listening muscle, that level 2 and level 3 listening?
Right. I think it's a matter of awareness and practice. It's like anything. It's available to everybody. And I think our society lately hasn't placed a lot of value on listening. It's not as if listening and curiosity are something that people, when they go to school, say, hey, I got an A in listening today. That doesn't happen. But I think it needs to happen. Or there needs to be awareness of there are different qualities of listening. And the sad reality for most people is they go through their entire lives thinking that there's only one mode of listening. Either they're listening or they're not. They're either paying attention or they're not. They never actually see the filter through which they're listening through. And what coach training does is it helps you see that filter. And it's different. It's different from, like, one of the most surprising things, again and again, myself included, when I started getting coach trained, is I realized, wow, there's a pretty big filter through which each of us are listening through. And it's hard to see that filter unless you have somebody hold up a mirror, unless you have somebody help you, unless you are in it. And we know, so the question is, okay, so how can you test listening? If it's just this passive activity, how can you test it? And the answer is you can test it by the quality of your curiosity and the questions you ask after you've listened. And that's essentially what coach training does, is it helps by the quality of the question, by the quality of the space you're holding, the quality of the listening that's happening to produce that. And this is why I love coaching. Like, really, when I experienced it in my early 20s, I thought, this conversation is amazing. Why did it take me so long to learn this? Oh my goodness, this is going to change the world. It was a very quick line from point A to point C, and I feel that even more strongly today.
So I'm hearing as I'm listening that we are listening to hear, aren't we, versus listening to respond. And and I think we have to catch ourselves, as coaches. New coaches in training sometimes are formulating that next question too soon because they're kind of listening to respond. But how do you really listen to hear and step into that space? And I just wanted to add some of the things that helps me. You talked about practice, and we're talking about how do we practice in the world in general with all the adversity going on. So how do you practice outside of coaching and in conversations? And things that help me are in relationships and loved ones where I'm really holding that space and listening. And I challenge myself, do I really need to be doing all of the talking here, because sometimes we all love the sound of our own voice, but how can I hold that space? The other things that help me before I go into a session, or even if I'm training or facilitating, is that practice of quietening my own mind. And meditation can help with that, and being intentional, because sometimes we're so busy, we have all of that inner dialogue going on. Or I guess if something could trigger us, especially with the agenda that we're talking about this morning, afternoon, it's the afternoon, I'm still in the morning. What are your thoughts on that, John, about even quietening your own mind? What does that look like?
I think, yeah, I mean, I feel, yeah, meditation, having a routine to get into a coaching space, being able to work with it. I feel, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm just, in my mind, I'm thinking yes. And I feel pretty fiery today, if I'm honest with myself. And it's, a lot of it has to do with my children, and seeing some of the ways, subtle and not so subtle, that how society treats them. And I think there, when getting into this work, like, social justice, I realize there has to be ways for us who are in this work to also self-care and take care of, you have to take care of yourself. You have to find ways to refill your own energy in this world. And living excellently, doing the things that you need to move forward is vital. It's important. It matters. And yeah, I think listening is a part of that. Listening level 2, listening level 3 to loved ones, to your friends. It's a beautiful exercise. It builds relationship. Having places of meditation, routine, self-care. It's amazing when all of that starts to fit into a larger purpose or a calling, like doing your life's work that you feel. Like there is something there that makes me feel so alive and so yes, like born to do this work. And I feel like that's the opportunity that's available for people when they step into this world. What are your thoughts, Raj? How are you doing?
I'm just curious about the fire that you're feeling, John.
It goes to Papa Bear energy,
What have you learned through being, a parent, dual partnership, mixed heritage, family? What have you learned from that experience?
Humility, a lot of humility, in the sense of I realize there is so much I don't know, and so much that I grew up just not experiencing, and tremendous amounts of privilege given, and it frightens me a little bit that I would not have seen it, but I see it now, and I'm thankful for that. I am. And I feel like we have, as a humanity, we have work to do. And it's not like, but it's also kind work, because it's work that's filled with compassion and understanding, and it's exciting. It feels like I have hope too for what we're doing, especially this younger generation. Like some of the ideas that my teenage daughters talk about are exciting. They are. It's amazing how connected they are, and what it looks like for them. So I do have a lot of hope for the future. Yeah, no, I feel. Yeah, I feel. Well, yeah, a lot of things goes in that space.
What about in coaching? How, and I know we ran the inclusion program last year, how else do you think we can challenge some of this or bring in models and tools around this topic in coaching?
Well, I'm thankful that the coaching profession and the new standards that are put out, by the ICF and some of what the health board's talking about, and just in the field of coaching in general, how there is people are speaking to these topics. And I often ask myself, even in this community where we live in now, like what would help people change? What would help people see? And I'm not sure. I don't know. And I don't know yet. I'm trying to figure that out. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure yet.
I think this is a good opportunity to even invite our communities to send us maybe even ideas or questions around this. I think as I'm listening to you and really valuing how open you're being, how can we have more of these growth conversations? How can we open up the dialogue? Because for some people, and when I've worked with people, talked to people, there can be guilt that comes up around this, can't there? You use the word humility. But how do people manage the guilt of not knowing or even not knowing what to do with all of this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know the best that I can do is to understand that I do have blind spots. I do have areas that I can't see, and that that it's my responsibility to keep the education going. Keep moving in these directions. Keep reading. And what I feel is most exciting is when I do that, and when I see this, these insights around diversity and inclusion work are so powerful. This work is courageous. It is generous. It is so strong. And this helps me. It has helped inform my understanding of coaching. Something I've been doing for 15 years, and seeing this, you know, it is astonishing. And then on the other hand, I know that coaching also has insights that can help deepen understanding of diversity and inclusion, and that's also exciting. And so it feels like there is a synergy between the two fields. There is going to be growth in both fields, and who knows what this looks like 100 years from now. Curious, Rod, your thoughts on this? Where
I mean, I would encourage, as I'm listening to you, I'd encourage anyone to check out Rhonda McGee's work on the inner work of racial justice. And, she talks a lot about, as we were talking, kind of mindfulness, meditation, self-connection, self-awareness. I think all of it lends itself to the work that we do in coaching, don't we, as well, holding that mirror up to self and looking at our blind spots. And last year when I was looking at some of this work, and I think, we forget sometimes the privilege that we have. I remember speaking to Andrew about this, and I'm like, the privilege that I have looking like this, but speaking like this, the education privilege that I've had, the fact that I'm able-bodied, the fact that I can just, I can walk down the stairs, I don't have a disability, I can get in a car, privilege around socioeconomic status as well. And I think the more, and keep saying this, holding that mirror up to self, and then how do we use that privilege to make change and be kind of the inclusion advocate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a practice of asking, how can I be of value? How can I help? How can I be the best ally I can be? And sometimes it's just praying, and other times it's saying something, and then on a larger level, it's, for me, it's putting together programs that provide this work to communities that wouldn't necessarily have access to this. So it's on a few different levels, but it's a question that, like many things in this organization, I feel like I want it to happen sooner than it is. And when I look at the tremendous work that's ahead of us, like what's required for this work, I feel the motivation. I really do. And I see it like on a personal level, like family level, like I feel it. So it's, I don't know. Yeah, it can be really heavy and also very, the hope can be very light too. It's amazing. There are some teenagers here. I'm surprised at how aware they are, and that gives me a lot of hope. This next generation, I have a lot of hope for them, with them, through them. I keep going back to that.
I agree. So we've got like hope and humility and compassion. And we're thinking of that kind of tool of listening in a sense. And I know you're the creator of so many different tools, John. What other tools? I mean, I'm just thinking about coaches who might be going into conversations at the minute or coaching sessions where this is coming up. There'd be a tool that you would recommend?
Oh, no, I'm thinking of specific friends and the journey that they've been on, and I've pointed them towards. I feel like a lot of it rests on gaining knowledge and reading books and doing the research, and that's I feel like one of the best things that people can do. And yeah, that's it, Marge. I don't know. I feel like I could get really mad really quick. I don't, but I don't. I mean, there's also like a to-do list in front of me too, and I feel like that feels like a. I think part of it is asking questions of, okay, so this emotion is here. What's the message of the emotion? How can I use it? What's it? What does it mean? And I think it just means like, okay, like let's put more energy into the work that I know is going to make a difference. I think just a mindfulness of that is, how can I use this emotion? I know a lot of people feel when they're starting out their coaching practices, or they're looking at, the anxiety that comes around financial security. And I'm making this leap into this field. How's this working? How's this look like? And the question then becomes, how can I use this anxiety? How can I use this pressure to my advantage to move forward with this? And it's asking, so the question then becomes, how can I use this emotion for the advantage of the cause? Mindfully, skillfully, artfully, creatively. And it's not the question is how much can you get? The real question is how much can you give? And when you answer that question again and again, then the business, the organization, those things, like, people will recognize it and see it. Yeah. What about you, Raj? What tool comes to your mind?
Firstly, I can't believe we've only got a couple of minutes left. I don't know where the time always goes, John. So as I was listening, I think I'm thinking about what you're saying. What is the opportunity here? Even in the darkness, there are stars, aren't there? And as painful as darkness is, how do we ourselves step into the light? So I think it really is, and I ask myself that question as well, also think about what Tony Robbins talks about. He says all emotions are a call to action. So, and you're demonstrating that today, I'm feeling that anger, I'm feeling that fire, but this is what I want to do with it. And this is where I'd like to take this. And I think that's how I feel. One of my values, I've been in diversity inclusion work a really long time. I talk about truth and justice on a joking side. I still wear my Wonder Woman bracelet, which is all about truth and justice. So I think for me, and I know we'll chat more about this in the future, is how do we bring more of those inclusion practices and diversity practices into coaching so that it's not an add-on, but it becomes part of what we do and who we are as coaches. And I think I want to continue to hold myself accountable of how do we continue to make this conversation easier. I think the more we talk about it, the more somebody like you talks about it, the more we invite others in to have this conversation. So I think just keep listening, keep asking those questions, being curious, holding the space for people to be able to be real and honest and raw.
I'm curious, Raj, what's been some of the biggest insights from the diversity and inclusion work that you've had that's made an impact on your coaching?
Definitely privilege. We've already talked about privilege. I think that inner work on how I was showing up, but also asking the question around who's my circle of influence? And I think that's a question I like to leave people with as well. Like, who are you surrounding yourself with? And we become the average of the 5 people that we surround ourselves with. So if you just surround yourself with like for like, you're not learning anything new. You're not necessarily growing. You're not opening yourself up to different perspectives and that diversity. And I think when I did that work as part of the training, because I like to hold myself accountable and do the work too, there was some gaps. There were some great areas. I'm in a mixed relationship. I've got friends from all over the world. Yet I was like, what else can I be involved in? How else can I shift here to hold that mirror up and tackle any of my own unconscious bias? And actually, I want to keep meeting people that are different from me, because that helps me to learn and grow and challenge assumptions and perspectives. I know we're on time, so.
We are. Wow, it goes fast. We didn't answer any of the planned questions that we had. Right.
It was as it was meant to be.
Gosh. Yeah. I also want to just shine a light on the power of reaching out to people and being the best ally we can. And I used to think about the impact of coach training when I had certain friends go through coach training, how powerful it was, where it almost felt like coach training was in some way friend training, where you get to learn to listen to people, truly listen to people. And I feel like that's my hope for the world, is that humans learn to listen, like truly listen, not with their own agenda or through their own filter, but to start to hear the other person more, like truly hear them. And that's my hope. That's my hope.
Well, thank you, John. Thank you for being so open and real and raw, and and being an ally.
Here we are. Thanks, Raj. I'm trying. I'm trying my best. I'm doing my best, but I know sometimes that's not enough. It doesn't get there. But I understand that too. And Raj, you're amazing. Thank you for this work and holding space and the work you're doing and the life you're living and all of it. It's making a difference. And I'll be sending you energy in this.
Thank you.
This next bit, and thank you all community for being here, a part of this, and your work, this work of building your practice, your work of empathetic listening, following along and doing the inner work. It matters. It's part of this larger movement of humanity to bring more awareness, mindfulness, understanding, empathy to the world. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this community. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.